Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today you get to see the non-cheap side of me because here are all the videos I have done that try to save us money on lots of craft supplies. And don't worry, I'm going to keep those coming. But in today's video, I am going to share with you some of the products that I use for my crafting that I will gladly spend money on. And so if you wonder what I'm doing with all that money I'm saving, this is it. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing is a good paper trimmer. You need a good paper trimmer. Now, I am a fan of the guillotine or guillotine, and that's the one with the blade with the arm that comes down. The slider trimmer definitely has a place in the craft room, so I do have one of those because there are certain techniques that I can't use a guillotine for. But this one right here is the Tonic Studio. Well, both of them are. And I love this longer version because I like to make top folding A2 size cards. And so I do that from being able to use this trimmer here. The smaller trimmer I'll show you in a second, I can't make top folding cards out of my 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So I just showed you the big Tonic now comes in black if you see it in the stores. And then this is the 8.5 trimmer. And right here you can see I use this one. Now this one's very easy. I keep it right on the side. It's smaller. You don't need both. But if I had to choose, I would definitely get the larger one. This way you have more options. And it's still kind of a small footprint. Speaking of cutting things, a good pair of scissors. I never looked back. Once I purchased these Tim Holtz Tonic scissors, they are non-slip or non-stick rather. And so you can cut your adhesives and all of your sticky stuff with them. Clean them with alcohol wipes. Works great. You don't need all three, but I would definitely recommend a pair of snips like this so you can do some really good fussy cutting without the ridge. Moving right along, I am going to tell you I need a good pair of stamping blocks. Now these ones right here are thin. I'm showing you them. I don't like the thin ones. The thin ones hurt my hands. This right here is a scrapbook.com example on the bottom, which is very thick, heavy duty, easy to hold. Your thumb fits in the groove, and so you don't get your fingers in the way of placing it down onto your cardstock, whereas this one right here, my finger kind of has to lift up and then dig into the side of the acrylic block. And I just don't like it. It hurts my fingers. So I'm a fan of those. I believe Catherine Puller has some really thick ones as well. So those are good too. Moving right along to something I have no problem investing in, and that is good inks. So if you are new to card making, scrapbooking, whatever you're going to stamp on, then I would highly recommend the Catherine Puller ink pads. I have a video on my channel that shows multiple ways that you can use them, but they are such a quality ink. And so right here I'm showing you, this is me stamping out solid images. And I have to tell you, I'm going to show you a close-up of it dried. This ink is phenomenal. It's not often you get ink to stamp like that. So huge fan of the Catherine Puller and Distress Oxides because they have their own unique properties that I use all the time for techniques in my craft room. So I do have a full set of Oxides in Catherine Puller, and that's all I have a full set of. Full set. All right, moving on to black inks. I did a comparison video on my channel for the best black ink for alcohol marker coloring. So you can check that out if you want, but I recommend a good black pigment ink like the Versafine Clair, and that's also used for watercoloring. And then the other two black inks I showed you are two of my favorite for alcohol markers. Moving on to adhesives, I really love the different thickness options that you get from the scrapbook.com line of double-sided adhesive. Now this is very, very sticky tape. It's permanent. Once you stick it down, you better just be okay with it because it's gonna be stuck. So I am a great big fan of this. I think it's very high quality. My projects always stay put and stay together. Also, it helps to stop warping. For some of my watercolor projects, if I'm using some foam, I can put the double stick adhesive on that and it is brilliant. So huge fan of that, and it'll last a long time too. Now this is something not card related, but it's craft related, and I have to say, I've become a planner lately. I have a video coming on that. But I wanted to show you that you can buy your own punch for this disc bound kind of planning system. I bought the punch because I made a few things. I'm going to show you what I made. This is AJ's book. Now, AJ had random loose papers all over the house, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I made him his own disc-bound book, and it was super easy. You can find the discs cheap as cheap on Amazon and get a punch, and you can make your own stuff. Here I have a workout book. I got this Dollar Tree beautiful shaker envelope that I cut in half, and then I punched it with the discs. And now I can keep track of my workouts. I have a nice place to put extra things. Like, this is one of the favorite things that I've made. That mermaid folder, can't get enough of it. So I just laminated my sheets for my workouts, and I just put them in here, and then I can just have my calendars and all my things all right in one place. I use a wet erase marker for those things so they don't smudge off. It dries, and then you can just take it off with something wet. But that is my disc-bound punch. We are going to move in and talk about stamps. Now, there are a few kind of clear stamps that you can buy. There's a photopolymer, which is the one on the right, and then there is a silicone or an acrylic, which is the one on the left. I believe the left is silicone. Now, the silicone one and acrylic ones are much, much cheaper. The photopolymer, you get a better image. They're sturdier, they're stronger. They take ink better. So I highly recommend photopolymer stamps over acrylic or silicone. And so I'm going to stamp out with the same ink and show you, this is not using a stamping positioner, but I'm going to show you the different images that you're going to be able to get. Now, I like the fact that they are cheaper. I do. But you're going to see that if you don't have a stamping positioner, you're going to run into some splotching and some issues because you only really get one chance to stamp it out. Here I'm going to show you, this is a photopolymer sentiment, which, by the way, is one of the best sentiments ever. I love that one. This is from the new Catherine Puller set that came out. And then the left one is the acrylic. So we're the perfect blend, or silicone. I think it's silicone. And you can see now there is a way that you can get better results with your acrylic or your silicone, and that is to use a better ink. It's still not great, but it is better if you use a good ink. So although I like to find my photopolymer stamps on sale, I will spend the money for them even full price. Good glue. We have to talk about good glue. These are my two favorites. Hands down, I've done a huge glue review on my channel, part 1 and part 2, if you want to check that out. And I narrowed it down to my favorite glue. I did not have Barely Art glue at the time. I only had the Art Glitter glue. They are almost identical, except the only thing I do know different about them is you can ship the Barely Art glue in the winter, whereas the Art Glitter glue you cannot. So that's the only thing I know the difference. They both have thin nozzles. They both stick extremely well. They're both just my favorite, and they last forever. So highly, highly recommend both of those glues. As you probably noticed, we're moving on to dyes, but that there are alternative, cheaper options for the things that I've shown you so far. I don't know if there's an alternative, cheaper option to dyes. I'm sure there is, but I will tell you I will spend my money on good dyes. Now, this is my dye system. I finally, after 15 years of crafting, figured out how I wanted to store my dyes. It only took me 15 years. But I have my most used next to me, and then I have this storage system that goes on my wall, which I love. And I've labeled them, and I just grab them, whichever I'm using. So, huge fan of that. All right, moving on to what else I will spend my money on. Good storage systems for my cards and for my stencils. So I'm showing you these 6x8 binders here. This one is a scrapbook.com. The striped ones are Simple Stories. And I'm showing you here, this is how I store my cards. I keep them in there. I label the binder, and I know what the genre is, and I can just grab it and grab out a card. So it's very simple for me. I like it. It protects it. I don't have to buy all those envelopes. This is how I store my stencils. Same concept here. I have them all in the pockets, and they're all labeled, and I know exactly what I have. And it makes things so much easier, and I use them more because I know where everything is. So I will buy those for sure. This is definitely something not needed. A viewer recommended this bottle to me, and I love it. Love, love, love. First of all, I love that it's rainbow, but I love the way it sprays. I love it. Just feels sturdy and good. And I think it's like $10. Probably don't need to spend that, but I wanted to share it anyway. Okay. This one right here is the Gemini Go. Now, if you already have a die cutting machine, you don't need this. Just ignore what I'm about to say, really, because you don't need more than one. But I love this, and I'm so glad that I purchased it for my desktop. So it's small. A lot of the things that I'm die cutting are small enough to fit into this right here, especially if I'm doing a lot of cards with sort of the coordinating dies type thing. So I love to use this one. Now the Gemini system is really good. And so of course it's going to cut out anything I want really well. So I love the Gemini Go. I've loved the Gemini Junior. It's just a really good system. All right, so storage. Something I was very happy to purchase that really wasn't that much money anyway, was this organization right in front of me when I'm sitting down. This compartmentalizes everything the way that I want it, and it looks cute. So I'm a huge fan of this system. Now I have the IKEA holders, see the little cups and the, the things that are holding, but I have them on the metal system that I use for my die storage. So that is kind of a mix and match type of thing. Love it. Now these next few items are for my fellow video makers. I'm going to show you these lights. They have a low footprint because they're thin, and I just have them affixed to the wall, and they are brilliant. I love them. They're dimming. You can get different levels with them. I had the big, huge studio lights, and they were just too much. So they are a much better solution for me. And another item that was well worth the money I spent was this blue microphone. This is a phenomenal purchase. Doesn't have to be just for video makers. This is great for all my Zoom calls that I have to sit on all day long. But it's just a really good microphone. I'm very impressed with it. Now, lastly, I'll show you how I hang my camera. So this is the Archon. It's a little on the pricier side when it comes to holding cameras, but I have it affixed to my ceiling, and it just is out of my way. So if I'm ink blending or moving my desk, the camera's not moving or shaking, and it holds it really well. I can get the perfect angle because it has so many pieces of the arm that move. So that's a huge, huge win in my book. I love that Archon. So those are some of the items that I do not mind spending my money on. If I could find alternatives that were just as good, well, I'm there for that. But these are the things that I have loved. They have worked well for me. They've lasted. So no heartburn for me for paying full price for those. Shocking, I know. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. You will see all the things I showed you in this video if you're interested in checking them out a little bit more close up. In the description box below, you'll see that. You'll also see a Linktree link, my Amazon storefront, which is basically where I put all my money savings items in one place, so you can check that out. And then also some lists of sort of my favorite things to purchase. Let me know if you have any questions. I will see you in the next video and in the comments below. Bye-bye.